What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the third and final installment of the trilogy of workouts here on Conquer Fitness. Today we're going to talk about hypertrophy. Buckle up, be ready. This is the most important. Here we go. Okay, so far we have discussed endurance style training and strength style training. As I've mentioned before, when you combine those two, you have a happy median, which is basically hypertrophy. Now, the whole focus of this program is for a healthy and progressive weight gain program for skinnier, lankier people and ectomorphic people. So anybody who is considered underweight but would like to bulk up, this is the most realistic and affordable way to do it. So these three structures are what I have learned help you keep focused and keep the most variety in your workouts and touch on all the different aspects that your muscles will need to be touched on to grow effectively. So when you combine the two, what we've gone over, if you meet in the middle, if you remember the two rep ranges as before, you're going to find yourself at around an 8 to 12, right around 10 to 12 rep range. Now, that is not quite as many as endurance style training, but it's twice as much as strength. So to put that into a more scientific form, you're going to want to bring yourself down to anything between 75 and 85% of your 1 rep max for any exercise that you did on the strength day. So you bring the weight down and you bring the amount of repetitions and volume down, and you kind of mix them together, and that is the style training that your muscles react to the most in order to grow. As something I mentioned in a video on the scientific aspects of muscle development, something that is a very big portion of this is tension and time under tension. So that's the main focus of the hypertrophy style, is when you're putting yourself in the middle there, you're doing about 80% of your maximum weight and you're trying to squeeze out as many reps of that weight as you can. The whole point of that is tension. Tension is what puts the most stress on the muscles, and in that sense, it breaks them down the most and requires them to have the most adaptation for growth. Now, as I mentioned in the last two videos, there was one key component that you had to incorporate in each one of those two regimens. For endurance, it was explosiveness. For strength, it was form. Now, for hypertrophy style, when you're dedicating that week, those 2 weeks out of the month, your most important thing is tempo. As I just said, time under tension is where you get the most results out of these specific workouts. So you want to make sure that you're slow, controlled, and focused. The 5-second rule is what I try to live by as much as I can, and that is 1 second up or on the concentric portion, 1 second at the end of the rep or under load, and then 3 seconds back down on the eccentric portion until you're back at rest, and you repeat every time. So that's 5 seconds per repetition. Now, that can't always be held to every single workout, and because that's very difficult to actually make it through an entire workout. I say try to keep that in mind and stick to it as much as you can to remember that the eccentric portion is critical and you want to slow down. On a bicep curl, when you're coming back down, on the bench press, when you're coming back down, any of those is when you normally would be trying to relax again, but that is still half of the muscle development. So you want to make sure you focus on that as well. Now, this is also going to be a combination of the isolation exercises that you would focus on in endurance style and the compounds in strength. Both of them combined right around the 75 to 85% maximum weight and hitting at least about 10 to 12 repetitions. I usually say 10, and then the last two are the ones that really count. Now, this is another style of training during this week. It's also very helpful to have a spotter, because when you're trying to get to those last two repetitions, those are the ones that are really, you're practically doing a failure to an extent. So it's nice to have someone there to give you comfort and peace of mind and assistance to get through those last few repetitions for each set. Also, short, sweet, to the point. 45 minutes to 50-minute workouts. You want to stick to about 5 to 7 exercises, about 15 to 20 working sets. This, again, is universal for all the workouts, because as I mentioned in previous videos, we're not there to burn all the calories we just ingested over the course of the day. We're there to shock our muscles, get as much work done as we can in the concise amount of time, get out and start resting for the next week. Going back on one critical word, tension, tension, tension. Something that a lot of people misunderstand is muscles don't know weight. They only know tension. Your muscles don't have their own brains, so they don't know the difference between 225 on your shoulders for a squat and 315. They only know the amount of tension that you're putting them under. Someone can cheat their way through two different weights easily. But if you are taking your time and you are really focusing on the concentric and eccentric portion of the lift and making sure that you're not rushing through it and actually focusing on that particular muscle group, that's what the muscle responds to. They only know tension. So you have to make sure that you're really focusing on that particular muscle that you're working during these, especially because this is isolating. So when you're having your chest day, you're really trying to make sure that you're not putting too much triceps and shoulders into it. So I would incorporate a lot of flies and exercises that you can really feel the chest being worked more than anything else, because this is the bodybuilding portion. This is the part where we're sculpting. One is going to get you more endured and help yourself be more prepared for longer lasting workouts, and the other one is how you're going to increase your strength so that you can actually progress through this. Now, here's the final and critical point. The strength training is critical for this because we have to incorporate progressive overload with both of these. So as you move along and work your way up, that's the only way muscle gets built, as you keep working up with more weight. So this, when you are increasing your 1 rep max on your strength days, your 85% max goes up as well. So you will continue to progress during your hypertrophy training weeks, and you will see magnificent results. You can't keep staying in the same place, and you won't. If you're actually balancing all these together properly, you won't. You've got to make sure that you keep your weights going up and up and up, because you still have to get stronger for your muscles to adapt, because that's the point. They're going under something they're not used to, they're getting shocked, they're getting broken down, they're repairing, and they continue to grow over the course of your training. Now, this is not going to be the most scientific channel that you can go to, so don't expect me to go into super detail about anatomy and physiology and all about the different aspects of hypertrophy. I'm only telling you what you need to know about breaking up your workouts. This is mostly a workout plan and routine for you guys to work with. I'm not trying to break this down on a scientific anatomical level. I'm trying to give you the structures you need to follow from the very beginning all the way through until you start seeing a lot of weight gain. To wrap this whole thing up in a nutshell, we're going to really stop and think about the two things that we're putting together. The endurance portion is the progressive endurance overload, and then the strength portion is the metabolic stress, as we've talked about in the anatomy video. Put those together, and that is muscular damage, which is what grows and creates new, larger muscle cells. Last thing that I'm going to talk about here, because I don't think I mentioned it in the endurance video, is all these are one muscle per week. So I'm going to go in a later video, give you a better structure on how to plan different workouts and which ones do it well and during different phases. But as of right now, when you do your hypertrophy endurance, hypertrophy strength, and you do one each week you're only doing one muscle group. Now you can repeat different sections of the legs from push-pull, and you can kind of do it a bunch of different ways, but you don't want to just do chest, arms, chest, back, chest. I mean, that's not going to do you any good. So especially with the strength and hypertrophy training, since those are doing a lot more strain on your body, for the sake of injury, make sure that you're limiting to one muscle group primarily focused per week. Strength training is a little different because you're going to do a lot of compounds, so you're probably going to be able to break down for maybe a bench day, day off, squat day, day off, deadlift day, a couple days off, and that's basically chest, back, and legs, and that covers everything. But especially for hypertrophy, try to make sure you're not overlapping muscles or putting them too close together, because then they're not going to be recovered and they're going to be at high risk for what? Injury. Thank you again for watching. I'm hoping to reach out to more and more people. I really hope more people can start to join this group, and I can get enough group of struggling individuals that we can all start this journey together from the beginning before I start really diving into the actual workout program and we start really moving along, because all the basics have now been pretty much gotten out of the way, so it's going to start speeding up a little bit, I hope. So tell your friends, if you have anybody or know anybody that is wishing they had an easy way to gain weight, this is the right place. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you all next video.